Hey there, this is Techno Traveler. In my latest video, we delve deep into using curation as a tool for self-development and business growth. We draw some parallels between my DJ experience and curating content. We explore the power of interpretation, open interpretation in electronic music, the importance of perspective, and the journey of self-discovery through curation itself. If you've ever been curious about how curating can shape your personal brand and want to know the lessons I've learned from it, you don't want to miss this. Let's dive in. I've always been drawn to the wide range of interpretability of electronic music. It allows for enjoyment within different moods. Lyrics tend to impart an energy inherently, whereas instrumental, ambient, and minimal creations allow you to step into a song at any point in your life and it'll mean different things. I love the openness for interpretation that abstract work allows someone, or abstract works allow someone to engage in. It's a good metaphor for life, that things don't inherently mean anything. Experiences don't inherently mean one thing or another, and that life is what we make it. Life or things mean what we decide that they're going to mean to us. Our perspectives of others are varied, and even our own understanding of ourselves varies or evolves over time. Even our opinions on a concrete thought or subject or topic, the subject may not change over time, but our opinions on it will, as we have new experiences. So similar to the Rorschach test in psychology, where a third party notes our interpretation of shapes or blots of ink, right, to divulge some information about our psyche. Abstract art of all types allows us to explore our own psyche by giving us emotions to observe and ask, why do I react this way? What about this is triggering me? Or to simply enjoy the freedom to interpret the way we wish without having to tell a single person about it. It's all in their interpretation, is all left to us to explore within our mind. The most important thing I can provide others is a perspective with which to view themselves in a new light. Not because any specific perspective I provide is important to the development of someone, of an individual watching my content or reading my articles, or that I'm having a conversation with through my words, music, or my visual art. It's not that. But because the very act of viewing oneself from a different perspective or with a different lens is the most worthwhile act in developing the muscle and ability for self-awareness. Self-awareness here, helping others with their self-awareness through my words or my art. That is my goal. Knowing oneself, of course, is an infinite, never-ending task. It's funny. Others surprise or disappoint us because we expect them to act a certain way, when in reality, we don't even know ourselves. Many times we can't. We believe we're going to act a certain way in a certain situation, or we plan to act a certain way in a certain situation. We set rules for how we will live, but ultimately we even surprise ourselves. So why would we expect us to know someone else fully? Their opinions, the way they're going to act in certain situations. You know, Pablo Picasso, Steve Jobs, and others, as quotes tend to be attributed to many people, not just one, are these people are widely quoted as having said that good artists borrow and great artists steal. Whether it was one or all of them or somebody else, the truth remains. I like this topic of curating inspiration, but rather than focusing on some deep dive into my bookmarks, my browser bookmarks or social media collections, I'd like this video to educate others on the value of curation itself, not just the result of it, but the activity of curating. Starting curation page is similar in many ways to DJing a selection of music. There are many successful DJs that only ever curate others' music, and that's all they ever have. They haven't created their own original works. And there are many big social media profiles that do exactly that. But it's more than DJing. DJing and curation are more than just curating the works of others for entertainment purposes. When one curates, we also curate thoughts, ideas, the people behind the creations that we're curating, their thoughts, their ideas, what they stood for, the meanings of their work. These are the things that we're ultimately curating. The overwhelming majority of the population are consumers of any given media type. About the statistics vary on this, but the numbers are generally very closely aligned in that the belief is that about 2.5% of the entire population, the entire human population, are actively creating content or are professional creatives in some way. About 10% of the population are curators. 8 to 10%. The other, what is that? 88 to 90% of the population. I think I'm getting my numbers mixed up. 86 to 88, I think, maybe. I don't know. Let's call it 90%. The rest of the entire rest of the population, the overwhelming majority of the rest of the population are consumers. So what does that mean? Well, creators historically have mainly focused on creating. They're less skilled or less interested in the curating, the promotion, the marketing, the sales of even their own artwork. So, curators are the bridge between the creators and the consumers. Whether it's, when I say DJing, I mean DJing in many ways, not just playing out at EDM or a radio DJ who does the same thing. There are many different ways, many different existing categories of curation, even within art itself. A gallery, the owner of an art gallery, manager of an art gallery, a museum. These organizations, these people are curators. 3 lessons I've learned from DJing. They are, number 1, that people like the convenience of you packaging things together in a way that fits each other, The items within them fit each other or a specific mood nicely, right? Mixtapes, whether it's for a crush or for a radio show, they are meant to incite a specific mood throughout that time period. A playlist of some, there are different types of playlists. There are YouTube playlists. There are, right, thought playlists. A conversation can be considered that way. The way that someone presents on stage, they are curating these ideas. Lesson number 2. By curating, you learn what others like through the feedback on the playlists, mixes, posts, curations that you publish, that you distribute into the world, and you get better at packaging things in a nice way when you curate in the future. You get better at packaging itself because with practice and feedback, you learn what people like, and you learn what people within your audience like, and you continue growing more of those types of people. Lesson number 3. By curating, you learn what you like, and that gives you context to your future original works because it's a form of experience. Curation is a form of experience. Circling back, good artists copy, great artists steal. Good artists, in this definition, in the context of this quote, can be defined as people who are pretty good, right? They're okay. They're consistent at what they do, but they're not exactly like blowing up or very, very popular because they sound like somebody else. Their art looks like somebody else. Well, most of the time, these artists, when you're starting off, even whether it's, in school, at a job, and anything, just even as humans, as a baby, we're designed to mimic our environments, to mimic the habits of the people around us, specifically our parents, our family members, those that we are consistently around because they are alive. And the evolutional logic is if they are alive and they do these things, then I, as a baby, should do these things in order to also be alive like them. That's the way biologically that these things work. But this also works for everything else in life. We copy what we know, what I know, what you know. These things are learned almost 100%, are learned from other people. So curation is a way of learning what you like about the works of others so that you can later steal for yourself. Brushstrokes, techniques of all types. You can apply them to your works, your favorite textures, sonically or visually or acoustically. You can steal them and apply them. Such an important topic. Here's some practical advice about trying to curate things at first if you're building your personal brand. There's always a spin of your own that you could put on things that are currently going viral, or an idea you find in a book that you just read, a quote, or a YouTube video. There's always a spin that you can put on things. It's a great way to build awareness of your page. Curation is a great way to build awareness of your page and then to inject your own posts, your own content, your original content in between the curated posts. It's similar to how an art gallery owner may place their own works, if they're an artist, on the gallery walls, as well as that of those that they're curating. especially if you're still building your own collection of original pieces, by placing your works among the works of more established artists, or putting yourself in a position to be curated by somebody else, your works to be curated amongst the works of somebody more established. That's how you can grow an audience, and it'll give you some time, some marketing while you're still building your collection of original works. Curating is a great way to build yourself a little community of other artists or pages that serve your same target audience through similar industries in a way that's collaborative rather than competitive, so that you can build each other up. This is something that a lot of newcomers and a lot of even intermediates or professionals even get wrong. When you seclude yourself from the community that is around you, or when you seclude yourself from any community around the art that you make or the topics that you're interested in, you will suffer. Your progress will suffer. Your business growth will suffer. Your finances will suffer. Your creativity will suffer. Your creativity, above all else, will suffer. So who you feature on your own pages will see that you're looking to grow your presence together, and even if they don't share your works on their page, you'll get the benefit of your works being placed amongst those of artists you like on your own page, right? Because you're the one placing your works side by side to each other and curating things that way on your profiles. I have, well, my marketing brain goes, it's similar to, let's say, a listicle. In marketing, the term listicle means it's an article with a list in it. So, like, for example, top 5 razors to use for shaving. And it'll be an article by Gillette. And Gillette will list their razor as number 1, and that of 4 others, maybe as 2, 3, 4, and 5. Maybe not that big of a brand. That big of a brand may not do that, something like that, but a lot of brands do. You've probably seen these articles. You probably just haven't noticed, or maybe you have, that the business posting this article, they inject their own products somewhere along the lines there. So keep that in mind. You can do the same thing for yourself. And curating is also a great way to share and discuss the design inspirations you've saved over time. Almost like creating a collage of ideas, giving viewers insight into your creative process or your way of thinking, your taste itself, almost like an evolving mood board. It allows you to tell people your inspiration so that it gives them context from which to view your art. Something to watch out for, though, as you grow, you probably want to leave this type of curation to your social media posts at first, because, and keep your website about you. There are ways of still curating on your website, but they require a bit more strategy to execute in a way that doesn't detract from what you're doing. Specifically, things become easier or less convoluted if you're the obvious host on your website. And let's say you happen to interview someone for your blog or for your own podcast. If you get featured on someone else's podcast, then that's great too, since that builds authority. I'd like to clarify that what I'm referring to is not curating 100%. Your craft, your pieces still need to be the focus of your conversations, your social media channels, your website. Those need to stay as your core foundation. Now, here's a bit of context about all of this for myself and where these ideas come from and how I built an audience of 2,500 followers on Instagram. I built an audience of 2,500 followers on Instagram simply by curating posts, doing exactly what I'm telling you here. I ended up flying to the UK for about 3 weeks to report on festival and nightclub events without having without having more than a few original pieces of content of my own and without experience having done any of that before. So for some backstory, I wanted to travel for music. At the time, I was attending a lot of shows here in California. I was working on a local DJ business, but I wanted to make a name for myself as a touring DJ. I figured a great way to start getting to know the people behind the scenes of the international festival industry would be to attend in some other way, just to get my foot in the door. So I wrote my first blog article. I fully wrote it, beginning to end, and pitched it to the biggest online blog I could find that also focused on house and techno. And thanks to my strategy of pitching a finished article rather than an idea for one or an outline for one, they took my article, published it right away, and asked if I'd like to write more. Actually, I told them that I had more, even though I didn't. This gave me the behind the scenes look at how blogs operate, how they make money, how they grow their audience, how they get increased authority and access to bigger events over time as the activity compounds and the backstage access to larger and larger festivals compounds over time, and how they build multiple revenue streams, all through the power of curation. By the way, this strategy of pitching a completed work works for anything. A completed piece works for anything because it allows someone to simply make a yes or no decision on what you're showing them since you've already built it beforehand. Yes, it involves some work up front. Well, all of the work up front. But it makes it easier for someone to say yes, and that's what you want. You want to reduce friction. So a little bit of a business hack, life hack, artist hack. Right there. So continuing with my story. I started applying these principles to my own social media pages, the principles of curation and the things I've outlined earlier in this video, by sharing the coolest, best, newest things I could find at the time it was the techno scene, like music, festivals. This gave me my eye-opening experience into the power of curation. A big inspiration throughout my life is an uncle who used to be one of Guatemala's biggest radio personalities. I heard stories from family members that for years after he'd already passed away, stations would continue using the commercials he'd voiced because he did them so well and people loved his delivery and his personality. My uncle and other radio DJs inject their personality, their flair, their perspective onto music, cultural events in the local area, or even, global events. And you can do the same. The art of curation itself is really similar to a DJ's journey of constantly seeking the next track that will sound great for the right crowd at the right moment in time. And as you delve deeper into curation, remember, it's not just about collecting content, but understanding its pulse, understanding the core of each piece of content that you curate and weaving a story together. So embrace feedback, collaborate, and most importantly, enjoy the process. And as you curate, you'll not only discover new content, but also facets of yourself. After all, the journey of self-discovery, much like learning, is never ending. As you learn to curate your favorite thoughts, your favorite pieces, the concepts of others, you'll get better at doing that for yourself, your business, your art. You'll develop your style. Learning really is never ending, especially about oneself. And this journey of using real world feedback to evolve and expand your art is also never ending and never ceasing to be valuable. If you set your ego aside and see the value in building a community and testing your ideas in the marketplace. So I implore you that if you're looking for a better understanding of yourself, to curate your way to your next masterpiece. Ask yourself, where do I fit into this digital ecosystem? What do I enjoy looking at that, like a DJ of thoughts and ideas and creations, I can share my taste with others so they have a story, a taste, a mood to connect with me on. If you're inspired to start your curation journey, share your first curated post or playlist, tag me, and let's embark on this journey together of self-discovery. I'll see you in the next video.